Brian brought up some good points about using Excel to actually create your, what I would say, sales letter, but in essence, contract or paperwork. I wanted to show you a couple of things that I did. First of all, I use drop-down menus quite a bit, so I don't actually have to type anything. So for instance, if I was going to do a locate on this, I could say yes or no. The other thing is I actually will duplicate that. If you take a look where it says yes and taxable yes here. Now in my contract right here where it says locate and taxable, I actually use these fields in order to add those in so I don't have to do it twice. So I just changed locate right there. These fields, the job description, the customer name, I will add all of those in manually. I have a way to actually import them off of the lead generation from a website, but I don't have it implemented on this yet. Now I'll manually enter in all that information. So if I click this, it actually creates a new customer folder based on this information right here. And then if I click this, you'll notice that the name changes, the file name changes up here. Now the benefit of that is I just created a new file and I didn't save over my master copy of the contract. Now if you take a look at this sheet, it automatically populated the new customer name, the address, the contact and phone number and email address from this information over here. I created a couple other links. One of them is to be able to email the paperwork. It'll pop up the customer's email address populated off of this field, the job name and date off of this field right here, and then the customer's name off of this field right here. Now on the contract sheet, you'll see that I have some sales information here. I have some information that can be populated here, but here's the actual contract itself. This is where you would add the quantity of items and the actual items itself. And I have a list of products that I can just add right here. Just go over to the quantity, put the quantity in, and then go down to the drop list, and you can add all the items that I actually have in here. That information is populated from a different file. And the reason why I put it in a separate file is that way I could aggregate the data differently and the file sizes weren't as big and multiple people could use an accurate list of my disclaimers, my pricing, and all of that stuff at one time. So if a salesperson is creating a new contract and I go in here and change the description of a disclaimer and edit this, or a price or a description from the price list, it'll automatically populate over here in any contract that's pulled up throughout the organization. You can see that I have the customer name and address over here because when we make a hard copy of it, it's stored in that orientation, so it's a lot easier to see it in the customer's file folder. I have notes that I'll put in here. Again, it's off of that one form, so if a customer has an issue or if there's something specific that I want to note, I can put that in here. Here's where I would actually list my warranty. That's also pulled from another sheet on that disclaimers file. And here's the common options that I have in there. Here's some contract terms, and then here's some other information that we'll actually put in there. That way, when you actually print the PDF to be able to send to the customer, you don't have to go through a PDF editor and add your sales sheet, add the contract, add your disclaimer, add some of the marketing material that you have, and so on. It's all done for you. And all of this in the gray is actually what gets printed and sent to the customer. Over here, we have a checklist of things that you need to actually go through on a job to make sure that you have everything. Materials list, I won't go into detail in this because it has some strategic pricing and stuff like that. Here's a general checklist that can be printed out and saved inside the hard copy of the customer's folder. And as I go through these different sheets, for instance, the fact sheet, this information that's populated right here is all the information that comes from this page right here, the customer contact page. So now if I go over to the facts page, it actually updates all that information. So if there's any change that needs to happen over here for the job address or anything, it automatically populates it all the way through here. I'll go through some of these different tabs. The materials list is what you would actually call your cost sheet. The checklist is a hard copy that can be printed out that goes along in the customer folder, so you can make sure that you've initiated dig tests and so on. Follow up is a marketing tool that we use. Drawings, if you had to do a drawing, you could just use this sheet. These are some of the basic icons that we use in access control, automatic gates, and the fencing part of it, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to create your drawing. Once you get all this stuff done, you can select it all and copy it over to your sales letter. Sales invoice, again, this is for the hard copy of the contract file. Down payment is for the initial down payment. The bid sheet is if we want a printed piece to actually go out to the field. We rarely use this anymore. Subcontractor agreement, we use this as a work order if we're going to send any subcontractors out in the field, and you can notice that it pre-populates the job address, customer's name, the products that are going out, and so on. That way we're not sending a materials list that has a cost and everything. We've got lien releases, we've got letterheads. If we need to print an official title page for request for proposal, just remember, if you have more than one salesperson, the information that everybody's going to pull off of, such as your disclaimers, your pricing, checklists, things of that nature, add it to a separate file. That way you only have to update it once. I used to have all that stuff as a separate sheet. It made the file really big, and then on top of that, if I ever edited one thing, I would have to edit it across all the separate files. So just keep that in mind, that you have the capability of doing that. For some of the automated stuff, you have the ability to add macros in there. And when I save files or save a folder or create a new folder, I have macros for that, and that should save you some time. And just a side note, for one of the things that helped me with macros is always save this information in the same drive letter, even if it's across different computers. That way you don't have to actually go in and update all your macros. I'm sure there's an easy way to fix that, but that's the actual manual way of doing it. Make sure you save it in the same drive letter.